is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
And all right, we're here for Wheel of Time Season 2, Episode 2. Discussion about what that happens there. You say you've done some research on this?
I have rewatched it and Episode 3 so far. That is the extent of my research.
This is a fairly Rand-heavy episode. I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got hinted at so briefly in the last episode, and we really still are in the opening exposition phase of the book that we needed some serious time with Rand, and we get it, which is nice.
Yeah, I feel like in the beginning of each book, we're like, okay, these first couple of chapters, there's going to be a little recap, introducing the characters, showing where they are now, and these first, 2 episodes, I feel like, do that for all the characters as well. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into it. And so we start off with, what I assume is a dream, right? We know it's a dream of him having killed all of his friends.
Yeah, just a channeling madness nightmare dream.
Right.
With Ishii, at the end. It's a very, I win again, lose there, and intrusive thought, recurring nightmare kind of loop, which makes sense, for where he's at.
Totally.
And it's presented as a nightmare by who other than the Lady of Dreams?
Of course, Celine.
She's like, oh, were you having a nightmare? I don't absolutely know exactly what you were dreaming because I'm fucking Lanfear.
God, and I will say that when the subtitles introduced her first sentence with Celine, says this, I'm like, well, there's Lanfear. There's no suspense in that one for me.
Yeah, not at all.
That's kicking it off hard.
Yeah. And as Zool points out, in the dream, though, there is the actual foreshadowing of Matt losing an eye. They really leaned on that hard this season. In situations where Matt had nothing to do with anything, he was just part of someone else's vision, he loses an eye, regardless of whose vision it is.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and rewatch that and just sort of see if there's any other foreshadowing in it, because I feel like there was a decent amount of foreshadowing. So you'll have to excuse me if we go through that little part again. So we've got the Heron Mark blade, right?
Bloody to the Heron. The whole length is bloody.
Nynaeve dead in her Two Rivers green cloak.
Yeah, and it looks like she was cut down from behind.
Yeah. Perrin just lying dead. I couldn't see anything specific about that. I saw, man, those go by real fast, don't they?
Yeah.
I can see where getting those stills is really important.
Zool's saying that Perrin has an axe to the gut in Nynaeve's test, so we should try to see if he's got that here. I can't tell. It's all very fast.
Yeah, it's very, very fast. It's almost too fast to even. For that kind of analysis, I'm like, go to the Dusty Wheel. They're going to zoom in on every single detail and figure stuff out. I mostly want to react to the things we can see and the things we can react to, rather than the things that are
You're the one that initiated this.
That's fair. I'm actually setting a rule for myself in the moment because I need to not go back and look at every single little detail. My instinct told me I needed to do there.
Yeah, the Dusty Wheel has us covered.
Yeah, it totally does. But yeah, so the Forsaken are fucking with Rand, right? You've got Ishamael in his dreams. You've got Lanfear in his bed.
I would assume Lanfear is also in his dreams too.
Yes.
And he's got voices in his head. He's got the kill them all, kill them voice creeping in right here, episode 2.
Yeah, and it does seem like they are having all madness be the same for all men. So we're sort of following the Logains. They hear the whispers become real things, then the things become more people-like, and then they become like somebody real you think is with you.
Yeah, it seems like they're going that way, which I'm fine with. It's conservation of madness narrative. Makes sense.
What I'm realizing is a lot of the lores, what the changes they're making are simply to cut down on the variation. A lot of times they'll combine 2 or 3 things. And,
Exactly.
So we were just sort of talked over Lanfear and Rand having some bedroom talk where she's like, I'm going to charge you rent, and that's going to be extra interest if you're not on time. And it was very implied that they're banging.
Yeah, and he is renting a room from her and sleeping with her, and she's giving him a break on the price. She has set this situation up very, very well. So yeah, he heads off to work.
Yep. After working all night.
Yeah.
And this is in Cairhien.
Yes, this is the Foregate, and we get to see him walking through and all the interactions he's made in his months living here, right? He pats an urchin on the head, he gets tossed a, piece of bread. He has his route, he has his job, he has a life he has built and is known in. And he gives money to the little kid. It's oof, he has a soft heart, even though he's getting all hard and stuff. Like, see how he looks out for, like, a dirty little child? Like, that's who he is. That's our cinnamon roll.
I'm thinking I've seen the scene in like Spider-Verse. I've seen this like Avatar. I'm just every fantasy show, there's always the hero sort of walking his daily routine and everybody loves them, right? That's very important that people in their community love them. Of course, then you also see it in shows like Dexter, right? Like where they love him and it turns out he's a horrible monster. So
it's how you establish main character narrative, regardless of moral alignment.
Fair.
But yeah, it does look like excellent free naan.
Frisbee naan.
Yeah, it's a pita, it's a naan, it's fresh bread. It's delicious.
It's flatbread. Like they make it everywhere. The topless towers, I love seeing those being rebuilt.
Yes, under construction.
I like the gatekeeper a little bit just because I feel like we have a bunch of like ordinary gatekeepers in the books. I like that this one sort of
Yeah.
encompasses several of them.
I love the fashion. I love the Kyrianan fashion.
The set pieces are great. The very sort of light blue motif that sort of plays over everything. Wonderful. But yeah, so he's entered the insane asylum.
Yeah, that he works at.
Which we later learn is he's trying to get to Logain.
Lilligren's asking how many of these men are stilled, and I had that question myself.
My answer is very few, because stilled men don't live very long. And they just don't still enough men to build up a significant population of them.
Sure, that's fair. So that was the cold open, was Rand works at an insane asylum, right?
And then we go to Varen and Adelius's hut, right? Where Lan and Moraine have been hanging out.
It's not a hut, sir. It is an estate at Tiffon's Well.
An estate. Excuse me. Yes.
But yes, this is Lan and Moraine all tired and worn out next morning after their healing from their near-death experience. And Varen's like, so you're in luck. We happen to have decided we're going with you to the tower. We're just coincidentally doing that. We're deciding that. Varen knows.
Yes, Varen knows. There was that quote. She just said, I know. Varen knows. It was perfect.
She's going to say that once a season because Varen knows.
I actually did the whole like point and shout when she said that the first time. I had to like stop and be like, yes, she does. Yes, she does.
And she's saying that in response to Moraine saying she's exiled from the tower. Varen's like, oh, no, I've been keeping up with you, girl. I know.
Don't worry. We'll take you to the White Tower. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Like, they're not going to the tower. They're going to the Amerlin seat.
No, they are going to the tower. Varen is saying, I will go into the tower and do the research that you can't do because you're exiled. You can stay camped out on the outskirts.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense to me.
And Adelia is just being horny, crawling all over Lan.
But then walking away and letting Lan and Moraine have, like, some privacy to talk, right?
Because Varen grabs her by the scruff of the neck and drags her. It's like, get off him, woman.
Well, good for Varen, I suppose. Lan's slumping in this chair.
Yeah.
Like a mopey teenager.
Yeah. And then Moraine continuing to be the worst to Lan. Like, she says that thing about, like, you're too weak to even saddle my horse for me, specifically to keep hurting him and be like, even after all you've done, I still want you to go away. Like, that is entirely why she said that.
Oh, yeah. And it's cruel.
Made me so mad. I'm like, that was supposed to be your turnaround moment, Moraine. End of episode 1, that was supposed to be the end of this bullshit. Like, I was so annoyed.
It really would have been better. All right, now we're back with Ingtar and Perrin and the Sniffer.
Elias. Yes.
Elias. What do you think of Elias?
I love him. I really like him. He really embodies the, like, wolf energy. You know, he moves like a wolf. He is quiet like a wolf. He has priorities like a wolf. He's everything that he is in the books to me, you know?
He does kind of disappear like a wolf in these.
Yeah, he just moves with that he can just melt into the underbrush. Like, yeah, he is very much book Elias brought to life for me.
And we get tons and tons of Ingtar foreshadowing being a dark friend that never pans out so much. I assume it'll be released in the extended films.
Ugh, yeah. And this is basically a scene in the books, this river crossing. This is where they, like, send Uno and Ragan or something, I think, over, like,
Totally.
and they bring the ferry back and they're like, everything's all weird. Like, they really almost perfectly nailed a book scene and then kind of don't stick the landing on it. But it starts out very booky. So they go into the structure and the door window closes mysteriously and Perrin catches a glimpse of it. It's the quintessential Celine in the window
Totally.
thing.
Do we assume that's Celine?
Yeah. I mean, the way Uno talks about, like, almost catching sight of someone, the way this window closes, like, I mean, I guess it could be Podden Fane, but just because we don't get much evidence otherwise, I just assume it's Book Celine doing her Book Celine thing.
And then there's this weirdness where he sort of blends into his visions for the first time. I have a lot of questions about this, right?
Right, so what he's seeing is the encounter of the Dark Friends attacking this family and leaving the meal that's covered in flies, like in the book.
But is he seeing... He's not seeing through a wolf's eyes. He's not seeing a wolf's memories. There was no wolf present. He is literally just seeing the past through various, like, Riyadh stuff. Is that what's going on? That basically he can see trauma in the way that the sniffer could smell it?
They might be going for that. I was interpreting it more as he can smell what happened and there's no way to do it visually, and what he's smelling is the story. It's like tracking, right? You see all the tracks on the ground at once in one moment, but you can tell the story of who ran where when. So I figure he's getting the smell version of that, but the limitations of the medium make it into this weird dreamy story sequence because that's the only way they can communicate the depth of smell. But then the way Elias talks about it as a vision thing and the way that they've got it all glowy, like Hopper doing his Hopper name dance thing, is like...
Also, that's when his eyes turn yellow.
Yeah, they're maybe bringing in that sniffer, Riyadh blending thing a little bit, which I guess makes sense. I think it's more about the limitations of how smell just does not translate through the screen.
Okay.
But I don't know. The amount of flies is unnatural.
That is true. And I do feel like that is a reference to the fly scene in the book. Although the flies are set up because that is like a Podden Fane trap.
Right. This is also where we find the door draw, which is definitely Fane. So maybe I should stop assuming that it's Celine and be like, no, it really is all Fane. And this wasn't a trap. This was just a thing he did.
Right? Because Celine's in Cairhien. They're nowhere near there.
Right.
This is the interaction between Perrin and Elias is great because of the whole, don't do this to me. And he's like, it's not me, it's the wolves. This is just what's happening. Deal with it.
Yeah. So I think Fane basically snapped in this village. I think he changed his allegiance with respect to who he thinks is on top with Myrddraal in this village.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason. They were traveling together, he was subordinate, and then he was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not subordinate anymore.
Yeah, we don't get to see his POV, right? In the book, we get to see his POV where he's like, oh, the day, he flashes back to when he got to kill the Myrddraal a little bit. He thinks about it at least. So we see that struggle, but I don't see anything. It's not like he changed his plans. I mean, last episode, we did see him in the Dark Friend Circle with the Myrddraal, right? And this episode, now his progression is he's not as loyal, so he kills off the Myrddraal.
The dagger's influence is growing, maybe?
Maybe.
His power with it and over it?
But then why is he doing Ishamael's bidding at the end of the season? He's like working hand in hand with him at that point.
Well, working hand in hand with a Ishamael is not the same thing as taking orders from a Myrddraal.
Fair enough. And then we get one of my favorite scenes, I think, of Rand in this whole season.
Yeah, the scene...
Him with Errol.
In the asylum again with Errol, who is a man suffering from intense PTSD from the Aiel War. And the depiction of it here, I thought, was really well done. Like, I feel like we don't get enough, like, even epic hero soldiers like get fucked up from war too narratives, and this really shows a man who was clearly epic and also is completely crippled by what happened to him. And Rand is just so compassionate and sweet to him. And yeah, you're right. This is really good Rand stuff.
And also the sword forms.
Yeah, the sword forms. I was really skeptical about sword forms, and now that I'm seeing them done, I am less skeptical.
I love the reference, right? He's got red hair, so Errol, of course, thinks he's an Aielman, which is just that, again, another great reference to the books where everyone there thinks he's an Aielman because of the red hair and just the way he looks.
Mm-hmm. He's tall and red-haired. He's an Aiel.
I also like the 51st Days aspect of it, where like every morning Errol freaks out because he looks like an Aiel.
Yeah, I do like that. He like puts the horse upright. Like Rand is just so caring of the people that he feels responsible for, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The costs of war. Rand sees them firsthand. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken in chat is saying that Sanderson was really aware of the need to communicate this, like when he was writing this, because he didn't have Jordan's experience, but he knew how important it was to talk about. And this is why Jordan like would have very few pages of violence, but hundreds of pages of impact from the violence. And the choice to work in an asylum and have like war veterans here, like really seems to be doing good honor to that like intent of Jordan's.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love this is one of those places where I really like the changes they made.
Mm-hmm. So also notice when Rand said, "I'll try to bring my sword in sometime," the way Errol looked at him. Because Aielmen don't touch swords, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
He's like, you don't have a sword. You're an Aielmen, you know? And then this fucking piece of shit guy comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
This dude.
I was like, Rand, punch him. And then Rand punched him, and it made me very happy. Yeah, this guy just sucks.
He does beat the crap out of him, which we should talk about when we get there. But he does suck. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a quintessentially like abusive orderly who like enjoys harming his patients and is just there for the paycheck and the sadism. And Rand is very defensive of Errol and tells him someday you're going to wind the wrong one up, and like, he's already planning to punch that guy out. But he, focuses on Errol and is like, describe to me how we're going to kill this guy with sword forms. I'm just being nice. Also, I'm taking notes.
And the reality is, like, abuse of elders is just the worst crime because anyone could end up in that situation. You never know how your life is going to, come to a close.
It's a massively under-discussed issue. Yeah.
Elder abuse is a real problem and one that you don't want going on because there's no guarantee you won't ever be in a position where you're not all there mentally and you need help.
Likewise, we're all just temporarily abled at best.
Yeah.
So, Egwene is looking for Nynaeve. Nynaeve is gone because she's on an Aja tour. She's getting her little internship work fair interview session, speed dating with all the Ajas. And we get to see, of course, the actual encounter with the Yellow. Because, of course, she's going to become Yellow despite Leandrin's fuckery.
Well, duh.
So we actually get to see her being exposed to the Yellow, though obviously she's going to get exposed to all of them off screen. The Yellow's the one we see. And she gets to witness a healing.
A breakbone fever.
Yes.
Which is a reference, right? That's the thing in the books that she healed Egwene from as a child. Or couldn't heal Egwene from? I forget which one.
In the books, she heals her. In the show, she apparently doesn't.
Right.
But either way, this is a disease that we've heard mentioned before. And yeah, we get to witness an Accepted doing the healing, which I feel like in the books, an Accepted wouldn't be in charge of healing like this. And I thought that was really dumb in the books. And again, I like the change here where they actually give Accepted some actual responsibility.
Feels like, interns. Like when you get your blood drawn when you're at the hospital and it's like the residencies, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Where, yeah, they're doctors. They're just not full doctors yet. They're residents.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the beginning of the Crimson Thorn thing. They actually use herbs in their healing.
Right? They don't disdain them the way they do in the book.
Yeah, they're like, we use herbs to supplement what our magic can do. Because, synergistic medicine.
And then somebody's pocketing a bunch of morphine.
Yeah, and then Leandrin, pockets the morphine, Crimson Thorn. Very weird.
Yep. I wonder if that'll come into play later.
Spoilers. It will. We can say that because we've watched the whole season. And then we get to see healing. It looks pretty. Air and water and spirit.
And once again, love the color of the weaves. Love that they're differentiating them.
Yeah, and because you can see they don't use earth or fire, which Nynaeve gets chastised for in the books for using earth and fire. You don't use earth and fire in healing. We're seeing traditional healing here.
And I like that I can tell that from the weaves just by looking at them, right? There's a visual language there.
Exactly.
The weaves are kind of waves that she formed around her hands that flowed into the girl.
Yeah. I love how she forgets who does statecraft and diplomacy. She's like, the gray. Yeah, those guys.
The grays, yeah. So unimportant.
Yeah. And then Leandrin makes the weirdest pivot. She's like, you could save lives, or you could end them with me. It's much better for the world. It's a really weird pivot.
I do like that she acknowledges that long-lived Aes Sedai can sort of... The immortality gives you a power in and of itself simply because you're around long enough to make long-term plans.
I do like that being laid out really plainly.
It's something that I feel like he didn't really address much. He says, oh yeah, they live forever, but they all seemed like they were, 25 going on 300.
Yeah. And then Leandrin says, I've set in motion the wheels of you getting your accepted test on so that way I can be allowed to teach you properly.
Yeah. I won't have complicated feelings about that later when you discover my second darkest secret.
Yeah, second darkest secret, yeah.
Uh-huh. Deepest, maybe.
Yeah, and then she just turns away on a dime without even letting Nynaeve respond, buys some sweet buns and walks away. It's like master manipulator shit.
Uh-huh. I'll let the silence speak for myself.
Yeah, and just being like, drop the idea and then don't even engage. And then she takes the buns to Matt, who's like, I might have been naked in here. I love his attitude. It's great.
The sweet buns look good.
They do.
But yeah, this is sort of the first hint that, like, she really is dark, right? The whole, like, on the surface, she's hanging out with Nynaeve, and then she turns around and has Matt imprisoned.
Yeah, and she's just a master manipulator.
Right.
Because she like buys the buns right in front of Nynaeve and then takes them to Matt with no ulterior motives, just to play her own mind games with herself,
Mm-hmm.
It's so creepy. Like, it keeps Matt on his toes, it keeps Nynaeve on her toes, it keeps Leandrin amused. And then we get some hilarious body acting from Matt where he shows us that he's been listening to her exit routine for so many months. So many months.
Yeah, he, like, listens to the bolt go, the door close, he knows exactly what every step of it is, and he's been stuck in there for a long time.
Then he grabs the snack, starts eating properly, and shows us that he is not the kind of person who will take this shit lying down. He is actively carving his way out of the wall with, like, a keychain or something. I don't know what he's got, but, like...
Yeah, we're doing Shawshank Redemption style. He's digging out through the wall, right?
Yeah, he's like, I will pick the grout out from these stones one by one until I'm out of here. I love him. It is so great. Pillow friends! The very first interaction between Egwene and Elaine is Egwene picking up pillows and taking them over to Elaine. It's so amazing. This is Elaine's introduction. I'm so happy.
Great introduction to Elaine. Of course, mistaking Egwene for a servant instead of her roommate.
Mm-hmm. Pointing up how empty the tower is.
Yep. Her complaining that it's so small that she can't fit any of her stuff in there.
That it's so shabby, like...
It walks into Egwene's, who's been living there for months, and says, oh, you just moved in.
Yeah, this is all rubbish. And then she finally realizes her faux pas. Oh, God, she's so Elaine. I love her so much. And then she immediately is like, oh, yeah, I know all the stitching patterns from my country, even the parts that don't recognize the queen, which is...
It is weird that she can recognize the stitching, but didn't realize it wasn't rubbish, It's like...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like she can switch from queen to Elaine on a dime, which I do think is something she's doing, right? She goes from the daughter heir personality to Elaine. And I think that's why it's really important she introduces herself to Rand as Elaine.
I love her whole introduction. The whole daughter heir thing. Like, Elaine Dracan,
You know?
don't you know of me? And then you're my subject.
Oh yeah, the response to that is perfect on Egwene's face.
Yeah.
Definitely want to pause on McTobb. Yeah.
I don't recognize that name.
No, I think they say she died. No, I don't think it's from the Wheel of Time, and I think she dies, right?
I have no idea. I do not recognize that name.
Well, I think later on in the season they say she's dead, right?
No, I have no idea. I
No, okay.
do not recall that name coming up ever again.
Okay.
Cool that we're getting a name drop for Catswain, but I have no idea who her roommate was. Like, I don't get it.
I assume that it's just someone to make Cadswain stand out a little bit less, to make the name drop a little more subtle.
I guess. And also, canonically, Cadswain has no friends, so they would have to make someone up. That is fair.
Right. It's a made-up name as far as I can tell. Just like someone was like, let's make a Wheel of Time name.
And then Egwene's face when Elaine's like, so I think we're going to be best friends and change the world. And Egwene's just like, I don't know if I'm ever going to want to talk to you in my life. You are awkward.
Right.
Okay, so Alana with her warders versus Shiriam.
And these warders are definitely sticking up for Nynaeve, right?
Mm-hmm. Because they've been training with her.
When everybody else just sees her power, they see her as a person.
Yeah. And they clearly are working as a team with Alana. Like, the three of them are a united front. It's very cool.
They very much act as a single person, right? And sort of almost continue each other's sentences in a way that's like one argument from three different mouths.
Right. And Shiriam's like, no, I don't have that intimacy with my warder. That's inappropriate. Ew. But then the three of them are just so, like, coordinated. So they vote on raising girls in the hall. That's one of the things the hall does, apparently.
It seems like it. Which makes sense, right?
Yeah, it just wasn't in the books, and I always wondered how they decided, and that would make sense, doing it in the hall.
I could see like a small group of like maybe the Amerlin and Mistress of the Novices and, you know, maybe a couple of other important people, some heads of Oddjaws could vote.
Yeah. So you want to talk about like the stuff that was in that conversation?
Sure. What was in that conversation?
I don't know because we were talking so much that I missed it. Ken said, I thought they might cut Tame, but no peas around. So I feel like there was like news of the world in there that I just completely missed because we were talking about something else.
All right. So let's go back and watch.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They name drop him. Yeah. But,
so there's mention of all these people with high power and they name drop Logain and Mazrim Time. Yeah.
Right. And Cotswain and Taim, right, in the same sentence makes sense because she captured him.
Mm-hmm. And now Shira making the same argument as Leandrin. She's been quote unquote won over, but you know, dark
friends, dark friends of a feather.
Yes. So they decide that they're gonna leave and let Nynaeve be on her own and go help Moraine, which means basically kidnapping Lan.
Yeah. And then we switch to Nynaeve,
who ends up trailing Leandrin for perfectly innocent reasons, but ends up stumbling upon her secret, and it's all very awkward and surprising.
Yeah, the whole wait, I'm trying to catch up, and then what, dead end?
And the timing of this is so weird, because it's like it starts out early, and then it ends up late in the night, like once she actually catches up with her. Very movie magic timing.
I thought there was some time skip, though, between, like, I feel like it's twilight now.
Oh, that could be. Afterwards and stuff.
Right, because time has passed during the day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She was stopping by after chores, so...
Okay. But yeah, she finds a secret door from an apparent dead end. Presumably the tower's riddled with them, just like in the books.
Right.
Is it even a cool fortress if it doesn't have secret tunnels?
No, it has to. It absolutely has to, right? Like, I would expect it to.
Yeah, so she gets spat out into the middle of the city. Super subtle.
Yeah, it doesn't really show what she comes out of. Sort of just an archway, but it doesn't show, like, her opening a secret door or emerging. It just feels like a pathway.
Yeah, it's just like a half-sunk basement or something.
Yeah, something. And then back to Ingtar and...
Yeah, back to the Great Hunt. They are arriving in Atuan's Mill for their last good day of the hunt.
Yeah, because this is the place where they get invaded, right? The Shan-Chan show up later?
Yeah, the Shan-Chan are going to show up tonight.
Yeah.
And yeah, they arrive. We smell and comment on a lionfish. Apparently, they are large, ugly, and stink.
Which definitely references the books.
Yeah, and they're even like first plates on the house. Like if they're that desperate to get people to eat it.
I thought that was good marketing. If it's like, oh, if it's one of those, if it tastes better than it smells, you know, you want to get them to taste it first.
Yeah. Uno, we need to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Loyal fucking telling Uno how he likes it. It's just the camaraderie that they have developed over the months of the hunt is apparent. Elias begins telling Perrin they are not your pack.
Which is hard because he has been traveling with them. He's been bonding with them. Like,
Yeah.
It feels like pack.
Yeah. All right, Varen and Moraine having a lantern-lit conversation looking over the tower.
It's interesting. Their hut, shack, villa, whatever, must be very close to Tarvalon.
A few days ride, probably. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Like, they've traveled some amount, but... So yeah, this is basically the conversation at the beginning of Great Hunt, where Varen lets Moraine and Swan know that she's been following their progress. This is an iteration of that conversation.
Right. Moraine wants to stab her.
Moraine gets ready to stab Varen.
Who else knows? Varen knows.
Well, hashtag Varen knows.
And hashtag Varen knows.
And then Varen's like, bitch, I will kill you so fast if you try. I see that you have your knife. That's not going to work. Also, good. I needed to know that you were on my side. It's very... Moraine is whiplashing hard.
There's a little saying everyone's healed, so they've been on the road for a while.
Okay, that's Varen's reason for discovering the dark, I think.
That the world is still broken after all these years. That the dragon didn't
needs
heal
to
it.
heal
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Like,
Well, yeah,
I
the
think
taint.
that's the question that led her down the road to discovering the Black Aja. Even though it's have loopholes we can't exploit.
Yep. Which, of course, has to foreshadow her ending. To betray the Dark One.
They're changing nothing about Varen's story. I love it.
And then she's talking about prophecies. These are the dark prophecies, right?
Yeah, these are a mix of prophecies and min viewings from the books. Probably some of it's dark prophecy and some of it's not, because she is a Brown. She does know things.
But in the books, it's the dark prophecy she reads.
But not in the Tower Library. She never goes Tower Library researching, so...
Right. Isn't that the one that Moraine gets on the sheet, right? That's the one written in blood.
Yes.
On the walls. But in this one, it was written by Lanfear on the seal. The same prophecy.
It must be really weird, then, for Moraine to hear some of those features coming out of Varen's mouth under the guise of, oh yeah, those are prophecies in the tower that I'm going to go find.
One thing I see a lot of Rand standing next to a candle inside some sort of container or a box. So there's definitely like flame in a box foreshadowing here going on, dragon in a box.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that visual at the beginning of this next scene at night was like, oh, Rand and a single flame just hanging out, vibing. That's not symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
So he's stalking the asshole dude. Yeah.
The coworker.
Just waiting for a chance to get him alone.
Clearly premeditated at this point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It does just look like he's having fun, right?
Yeah,
it's like he's just drunk at a party. He's not like being an asshole or anything at the party.
Yeah, exactly. He's just blowing off steam in the foregate. It's a party, carnival atmosphere, whatever. And yeah, Rand just stalks him for however long until he's walking in a dark, secluded part of the foregate.
The alleyways of the slums. Lots of sheets hung.
And then we get your classic back alley beating someone up situation.
Beat down, right. Except he gets super strength with, looks like air actually around his arms when he throws the guy. Like fire and air.
That he starts to channel with the strength of his emotion and pulls himself back because he knows that that's too far. And then he realizes that he may have hit this guy harder than he meant to and runs away.
Definitely. Broken some things. Yeah. But it does look like he throws him once. And the one time he throws him with the power. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he comes back looking rather freaked out and tries to send Celine away. And she doesn't take no for an answer.
Refuses? Yeah. Does she have tattoo sleeves on?
I don't think so. I think it's just really tight fitting sleeves. They look really cool though. And then she's like, we can be alone together. And I'm like, that is literally not how being alone works.
That's not what alone
Like,
is.
I'm all for parallel play and body doubling, but that is not being alone. It's just not.
Yeah, tightly lacy sleeves, apparently.
I guess, and then we get our first erotic choking of the season. We might not be into spanking in this season, but we are into choking, apparently.
You know what? Kinks change over generations. Spanking was what, the boomers were into. We're really more into choking as a generation. So
You're not
playing
wrong.
up to that. I know I'm not wrong.
Okay, so back to Elaine and Egwene in the tower. Elaine has been playing ignorant tourist in order to get to know Egwene better, which is annoying. I would not like someone who did that to me to be my friend. But whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then Shiriam is like... this whole dynamic was very weird to me because in the books, that message would have been made clear to her before she moved in with all of her furniture.
Yeah, she knows the tower so well and obviously knows what apprentices have to suffer, but then brings all her shit anyway, just to know it's going to get sent back.
Yeah, it's like in the book, they're all very aware that rank doesn't matter, instead of it needing to be an object lesson, like in the hallway from the Mistress of Novices. But we do get a chance to see that Elaine is very proud and willing to take other people's punishments for herself and not a snitch.
At the same time, she gives some shit back to Shuriam.
Yeah, which is good. Before breakfast or after is excellent. I really hope Egwene uses that line when she's doing her Nelson Mandela arc, and she's captured in the tower later. I really hope that she says that specifically to whoever the Mistress of Novices is.
That would be good.
And yeah, Zul, you're right. Like, her mom would have known not to send all of that stuff. Like, it's just, that was very weird. I think it was just a character moment for Elaine that could have been made more plausible.
It was. I understand why they did that, but it wasn't super plausible. And then her man in North Harbor.
Yeah, now we finally get an answer to the man in North Harbor.
I thought for sure that wagon was such a misdirect. You think she's going to it, and it's like, oh my god, Fane's wagon. No.
Yeah, it was just a set piece.
They did that on purpose.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, they got you good. They got
me really good. Oh, Timber just broke into the office. Timber, come on.
So Nynaeve is now stalking Leandrin because she's afraid Leandrin's going to kill a man.
Right. But we know it's just, she's trying to ease his pain. She doesn't do a very good job with it.
No, because she's fucking treating him off of, like, WikiHow. Like, that's her understanding of medicine.
Right.
She's going to WebMD and being like, is it cancer?
Maybe ask the Yellow Ajah. Yeah, I guess, is his condition just not treatable because it's genetic? Like,
I don't know what's wrong with him. So yeah, Nynaeve tries to help Leandrin, fucking bitch slaps her and tells her to go away. And that was not a good move.
Well, because basically she's pointing out that all the work Leandrin has done, everything Leandrin has done to try and ease the pain has been completely pointless, right? That he's been in pain this whole time, but hasn't been able to communicate.
Yeah.
So she's been leaving him in pain for years, probably, who knows how long. When if all she did was get some better help, she would have been able to actually fix his problem.
Yeah. Like, how many years has he been in pain because she can't ask for help? Like, fuck. And this is why we're all feeling for Leandrin, because that's awful.
How many years has she basically been torturing him?
And then he tries to comfort her. Like, oh my god, what a fucked up life he's been living.
Mm-hmm. Also, is it weird to have a mom that doesn't age or die?
Yes. Yes, having an immortal mother is definitely weird. I mean, effectively immortal compared to you. Yes, that is very weird.
Back to Matt digging his hole.
So Matt has managed to get one stone out of the wall, and now he's getting the second stone out, and it's another cell. It's like the dopamine rise and crash is hilarious on his face.
He's like, I was going to say he's digging through the walls like a badger.
And then Min swings into view and calls him a possum.
Who, of course, has been planted there by Leandrin, right? So
yes.
Leandrin must know that he was digging through the wall, right? He was never tricking her with that.
Yeah, and the fucking line about her being into domination with those cheekbones was like directed at the audience. But yeah, no, Min is put there specifically to mess with Matt, to get close to Matt, to help Leandra and figure out what the hell's going on with Matt. That's the entire reason she's in that cell. Their first meeting is under false pretenses, and it sucks because they have a really good friendship and she likes him actually, but he can never trust her ever again because it's all fake from where he's sitting.
Yeah, I feel like they've done Min pretty dirty in this season. I got to admit. I figured you'd be frustrated with that.
Strong agree. But for now, we're going to a quick recap of New Spring. We're going to a campfire story time in which we get the story of Lan and Moraine meeting, which is cute because it's basically dialogue lifted right out of the books.
Right. I was going to say, they pulled this right out of the book when they were describing how they met. It's like perfectly out of the books.
I really liked this scene.
Of course, freaking Adelius.
Adelius describes him as like a romance cover.
Totally. Shirtless, hair streaming in the
stallion.
wind. Her bodice ripped off, yeah.
He was on a black stallion, as it happens.
Well, that's the funny part is, like, you really could make Lan and Moraine, like New Spring, a very romance bodice ripper type tale.
Yeah.
And then we get a reference to the Borderlanders, like, weird virginity taking women thing that happens to Lan. Yeah.
Carnaira thing where older people get to have sex with younger people.
Yep.
And then we get into the actual story directly as it is in the books. It's so funny.
Grab me by the scruff of the neck, flashed Adelius smiling.
Yeah, she's like, grab me by the scruff of the neck. Like, that's what she is thinking.
Exactly.
Now, that's an important line. Any mortar can protect you from a Trolloc, but the right one will protect you from yourself. I think that's a very deep insight into the Aes Sedai-Warder relationship. And she's a green, you know?
Well, and especially right now, what's going on right now
God.
between
Yeah,
Moraine
definitely.
and Lan.
But I mean, she is still a green. Like, she knows these things.
Totally. Fitting Min through the tiny hole that they've made so that they can hang out together.
She's got wine, and it's a change of scenery. It's a date. I mean, it's not really a date, but like it is. They're having something different, right? After however long of being with the monotony, now there is something different happening.
Totally. Although I gotta say, it's a pretty nice cell. He's got like a bench for people to sit on. It's all cozy. Like, I wish my apartment was this nice.
That was all the truth, more or less. Just with a bunch of stuff left out. Everything she said.
Right. Because isn't the whole thing that somehow Moraine is the one who's got a hold on her, and she's trying to fight that hold by throwing herself in with Leandrin?
Yeah, that's what's implied. And then Matt's reaction to her admission of her talent is the most refreshing, interesting thing she's ever heard. She's never met someone who's like, wow, that's a stupid power. Get it away from me.
But that's very Matt. Like, he, never tell me the odds, right? That's his personality of like, I make my own luck. Don't tell me the future. Keep that magical shit away from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very book Matt. But she finds it refreshing. That's part of why she starts to actually like him and feel bad for betraying him.
I like that she calls him Possum.
Yeah.
One step away from calling him Badger.
Mm-hmm. And then she gets a vision of him stabbing Rand with the dagger. Not how it happens in the last episode.
So interesting that it's the event happens, but not how it happens.
And him cradling Rand at the end does happen, right? The way he stabs him is different, but the way that he holds him after is the same.
Right.
Post-coital talk between Rand and Selene.
I don't want to hurt you. Her reply, you can't. Oh, how true that is, Rand.
And he's thinking, well, you just don't know how dangerous I really am. And she's like,
He's like, hey, you don't know how dangerous I really am. You don't even have an idea.
Mm-hmm. And then she tells him about why she's crazy ex-girlfriend.
Also, lots of Rand nipple there.
Yeah.
She's basically saying this man, but I assume she's talking about Lewis Theron, right?
Yeah. Everything she's saying here is about Lewis Theron.
Which is Rand, so...
What's left to hurt when he still has my whole heart? She is still besotted with him. Oh, when I'm with you, I can pretend it's... Because he is him. Oh my God, it's just so creepy. It's just so crazy ex-girlfriend creepy.
Right. And honestly, just on the surface level, it's a little crazy. I like being with you because I can pretend you're my ex.
Oh my God. Woof. No,
Ooh.
red flags. Run away. Run away.
Right. But he's very self-destructive right now, right? He's like, I don't want to be with anyone I might actually love because I will hurt them. I'll sleep with this person who I don't care about.
Mm-hmm. And he is not being creepy. He's like, when I'm with you and I'm thinking of someone else, it's someone I want to forget. That's not creepy. That's how rebound sex works.
I'm literally trying not to think about this person.
Yeah, like that's fine. It's the I am thinking actively about another person that's fucking weird. You help me remember and I'll help you forget. It's just, get away from him, you creep.
But also, like, he doesn't remember the previous life and she does, so it's almost like the opposite.
And then we get Elaine, the tinkering engineer, who makes her own moonshine.
I would say it's more like tub brew wine, right? Like, she's just throwing shit together and fermenting it under high pressure, which doesn't speed up the fermentation, by the way. Thank you very much, showrunners. I mean, it does a little bit, but you can pressure ferment stuff, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to ferment this over in like a couple of hours, right? That's not how that works. And then Nynaeve goes to her for help while she's like hanging out with somebody else in somebody else's room.
Right, and while she's hanging out with someone else, she is complaining about how she feels overlooked in favor of Nynaeve and like all of her issues with that. It's they both need each other and they're drifting apart in this moment, you know?
Right, which they have to drift apart so they can come back together at the end of the season. There has to be that rescuing moment, and then like the regret of not saying enough when you had the chance before she gets kidnapped. She's looking for you right now. Where are you when she needs you, huh?
Well, we're talking about the last 5 months, not this literal moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, I was just talking to Never about this as a trope, where you listen to just the portion of the conversation that insults you and miss the part where they compliment the other person or say they need them, and the person just takes the insult and walks away. I kind of hate it.
Kind of hate it. I hate it, too.
Kind of hate it. And Egwene is extremely jealous.
If you and Elaine say so, I have a very not great grasp of jealousy, so I didn't think it seemed like jealousy, but if you and Elaine say so, I believe it.
They try and make it look like jealousy because everyone keeps telling her how powerful Nynaeve is. And that really, like, it's a fact, and the fact that it bothers her emotionally is jealousy. She can't be happy for Nynaeve. She just has to be upset that she's not as powerful.
Well, Nynaeve doesn't want to be there. It's very weird. Okay, so Leandrin has now come for Nynaeve and said, I actually don't want you to have this honor, but now that I've initiated it, I can't stop it, so just go along with it and pretend that nothing ever happened. And then she takes her down into the basement, into the creepy, cut into the bedrock part of the tower.
Which is where the test happens.
And we get book dialogue ritually bringing the ceremony to initiation.
Mm-hmm. And Leanne, who I love, I think she does a great job in this scene.
Oh,
Every
God,
scene she's in,
so
really.
good.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Not a lot of lines yet, but she's really fucking good in every scene she's in.
She owns her role. But yes, the Mistress of Novices, the Keeper of the Chronicles, and the Mentor Sponsor are the three women who bring this ritual to happen. They power up the thing. Those are the three women who are involved with every woman's raising, it seems.
2 dark friends and a keeper in the White Tower?
Yeah, 2 dark friends and a keeper, as one does. And then we get a lovely, ominous shot of the arches. Ugh, so exciting.
Which are broken. 2 of them are broken, which they complete when the power diffused.
Yeah, I have questions about that.
Past and future are broken.
All right, and now we've got Lan finding the poem. He hasn't read it yet, but he's finding it and tucking it away.
Because it's a secret, right? So he's trying to discover Moiraine's secrets.
That line. She recently faced a shadow with nothing but a knife.
Right. And it's also why I know the whole, like, I don't think we're equals was bullshit. Because, of course, she had so much admiration for him. The only thing she could be like is, oh, you're so great because you faced the shadow with a knife and nothing else.
That's a really bad note to start a war on. Thinking you're winning and instead you're letting your enemies loose. That sucks.
Really no accountability for that, Moiraine. Like, that was all you. And you just shrugging that off.
And, like, what else were they supposed to do, you know? Like, the only information they had was go to the Eye of the World and be powerful. Like...
Mm-hmm. And that line there where he says, it takes 8 Aes Sedai to cut somebody off.
Yeah.
Right? They've really changed the number 13 to the number 8 just across the board. 8 Forsaken, 8 people to cut somebody off. Like, that is a 1-to-1 translation of just like, no, we're not doing the number 13, we're doing the number 8.
Yep, 8 is the sacred number, and I've said before, and I'll say it again, that I love that transition. 8 is so much more interesting than 13 at this point. Oh, Holger is making an interesting point in chat. Leandrin was able to gentle a man with 5 sisters. So, it's not... You can do it with less than 8.
Is it unreliable narrator or poor writing? That's the question. Did they just not count?
Well, in the books, it is traditionally done with 13, but it can be done by less. It's just that 13 is the fail-safe number. So from where Lan's sitting...
Are we sure Leandrin didn't have anybody off screen that we just didn't see? Are we sure we only had 5 sisters?
I think so. When he is trying to get them to kill him in the tower, how many sisters does he say he fought? 7? But I think that Lan could definitely be ignorant of anything other than formal tower law when it comes to that sort of mechanic.
Sure. That the law calls for 8, so he thinks it takes 8.
Right. And it takes 8 to be sure that you'll be strong enough, right? Like, even a Forsaken could be gentled by 8 much weaker people. But, like, if you've got the right power imbalance, you don't have to have 8. That's how it works in the books with the number 13. And with someone so much stronger... it's different, but Logain's really strong, so maybe it was bad writing. Oh, you were talking about the Leandrin chase scene in the very beginning of the show. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is.
Yeah, the opening.
And that is then communicated to us to be an illegal maneuver. So that also lets us know that it's possible. It's just not the legally prescribed amount. And generally speaking, the men are going to be much weaker than a circle of even 2 women, because that's just how things are. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
Women aren't half as strong as men. They're like 80 to 60, 70 to 80% as strong as men in general. So any 2 random women are probably going to be stronger than any random man.
Right. So yeah, Lan's asking for information. Moraine is sort of giving it to him, but still withholding critical stuff.
He's like, you can't push me away. She goes, challenge accepted.
Yeah, he says, you really can't push me away. And she's like, fine, I'll betray someone else in order to betray you better. So why are you betraying him now then, Moraine? Because Lan is that hard to get rid of.
Well, it seems like Lan's help would be good, right? Like, just because you need more help than Lan doesn't mean Lan isn't helpful.
God, and the way she's up on her horse and gives that line about them not being equal. Yeah.
On her high horse?
The visuals of it just destroyed me. I'd worked myself around to realizing her real rationale by the time the next episode had happened, but God, this scene hurt me when I watched it the first time.
Oh, I called it instantly. I was like, oh, yeah, because you think he's better than you. Like that, it was almost like, yeah, it was my reply to her if she'd said me in the moment, we're never equals. Yeah, because you think he's better than you. Like, it was an instant, like, yeah, you think he's better than you.
It took me a few days.
You just said that. You
Okay, yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, she literally just said that about how he faced up to the shadow with just a sword. Like, it was instant to me. I was like, oh my God. Which is why it was so frustrating that it took so long for her to say it to him in the show. Because I was like, it's clear, very clear that that's what she was expressing to me.
Well, you were better than all of us. You had more faith in Moraine and Lan than
I'm saying this in hindsight, but like, I think Never would stick up for me. She was sitting next to me, and I was like, nah, clearly she thinks he's better than he is. Than she is. Well, Jen, says she called it immediately as well.
Fuji is also saying that this is... Okay, so I'm just easily misled by the showrunners, okay? All right, so now we switch back to Perrin in Atuan's Mill, being creeped on by the Shan-Chan. The metal insectile heads are about to be really horrifying. It's a really fucked up sequence that we get next. It's really horrifying all around.
The sacking of the town. Great action scene.
Watch for Mishima in all the scenes. This is like the most interesting screen time he gets the whole season, is this fucking fight scene.
Oh yeah, this is him as a fantastic battle.
God, he's an amazing...
Of him fighting.
Amazing physical actor. I mean, I saw him in Last Kingdom first. Like, he moves good. Yeah, this nighttime Shan-Chan attack sucks.
So I'm not sure. They're just pulling everybody out of their beds and bringing them to the center to bow? Is that what's going on?
It's the most irrational, stupid fucking raid.
And people are just resisting.
Like, you could have shown up in
Yeah.
the morning while everyone was at breakfast. Why are you doing this in the dark? Like,
Also, not nearly as many people sleep naked as I would assume.
yeah,
Everyone's in night clothes. I'm just saying.
just
Yeah.
the Shinarans, and even then, they'd get into their armor first. And then Uno and Ingtar working as a team is very fun. They fucking kick ass.
Very, very fun.
And Uno no Mesta is such a badass.
And I was really hoping Perrin would get the axe from Ingtar, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was definitely watching Ingtar's axe being like, is that going to be Perrin's axe? And nah. I do like, though, that Perrin looks around to get his bearings, notices that Loyal's in trouble, and Ingtar also notices it, and it's like, no, you got to go help Loyal. Because, like, don't fuck with Loyal. I get so mad. They're holding on to Loyal with all these ropes, and it's just like, fuck you. Fuck you.
And also the ropes holding on to Loyal is like how they deal with like trees in the I feel like it's Lord of the Rings reference, right? Because that's how they deal with the Ents.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely made me think of the Ent battle. Yeah. And then you get to see how strong he is once he gets, his arms
Right.
free. He's
Just tossing soldiers around like nothing.
very book loyal in that regard. You piss him off hard enough. And so then we get Mishima, unfortunately, with a shirt on now, killing more people, which is great. Perrin gives as good as he's got, given that he's got a stick for his weapon.
Oh, yeah.
But Brandon pointed out, he keeps punching the guys in the head with his hand, and Brandon was like, stop doing that. They're wearing metal helmets. Stop punching them.
It does seem really silly. Yeah, it does take me out of the moment when they punch a metal head.
And then, they all sort of collect, and then the Sul'dam move in.
And that's it for them, because kaboom.
Yeah.
The great channeling music.
Take cover. You can't take cover from a wall of air, Ingtar. Sorry.
No. I love that Loyal's the last one standing.
And that's the end of their night. That's the end of all rational thought for the night.
Yeah. I would say that's the beginning of their night. Because they are unconscious until the next morning.
Yeah, and then Perrin wakes up being drugged by his feet again. Like, back where you started.
Again. I was going to say,
Yeah.
just like before. Yep.
And then we have movie magic timing, where suddenly it's the middle of the day rather than dawn, which is what I think would make more canonical narratives, or more narrative sense, but whatever. Movies have terrible daylight timing. It's just what it is.
You can't film at dawn exactly. It takes hours to get these scenes, right? So I feel like
disregard that. Make the world stop turning so you can film shit realistically, please.
Okay. Because that's realistic.
I have very realistic demands. And then I have realistic demands the way Silroth has a realistic mode of transportation in this scene. He's getting carried in on
that giant pyramid carried.
like Zuggernaut, being carried by like a dozen people per
it's
side. Huge. It's ridiculous. Like, what happened to riding a fancy horse,
I like it, though. I like it the way it shows the disrespect and the way the Shan-Chan is a slave nation.
You think it maybe represents a highly stratified society, perhaps, with a few people on top and like masses of people being literally crushed on the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
I wouldn't
sense.
say so much represents that as is that.
Yeah. So yeah, Rand shows up to work and is like, "Oh, you need me to cover for that asshole that I he didn't come into work?
Oh, did he fall down? And
Fall down the stairs?
get his head punched in by somebody random? Yeah, it's really specific that you'd know that.
Yeah, and then they're just like, "All right, I guess you're gonna get his job. Here, have the high profile client." Miranda's like, "Yes, according to my plan."
Which, of course, is Logain, who gives him no useful answers. He gives Lan useful answers, but he gives Rand nothing.
He gives Rand mind games. He plays mind games with Rand and gives him an excuse to go schmooze with Kyrian and nobles.
That's true. He gives him a reason to get wine.
Yeah, Logain gives him the fetch quest that gets him mixed up with Kyrian and politics. Rand, yeah, I think we have a lot in common. Logain's looking at him just like, not you again.
Yeah, I see you glow.
Right, because he hasn't seen Rand since then, right? He's been having this nightmarish existence, and then that man walks in all glowy again. Oh, boy.
That would be my assumption, right? There's no... Maybe he's caught a glimpse of him down the hallway or something. It's possible.
I doubt it.
But that's the end of the episode.
And that's the end of the episode. Episode 2. So much Rand.
Yeah, a lot of Rand, and that episode gave me a lot of hope for the season, right? I felt like, oh, there's a lot more book stuff, book references, book quotes, book ceremonies. They really are focusing on book content in this season and in these episodes, and so that really, I think, gave me a place where put me in a place where I was very excited for this season.
I agree with that. And also, this is an episode where a lot of the things they changed made me feel very confident about the adaptation. The way they changed things and what they changed them to just was like, oh, that's a good choice. That feels correct. So it was a lovely mix of actually from the books and holy shit, that was an inventive, brilliant idea. Like the whole Leandrin thing. Making Leandrin dimensional and relatable and someone I want to win and empathize with and not just a mustache twirling villain. Like, oh, what a good choice. What a good change.
Yeah, my only complaint is that, I'd like that. I want more screen time with our heroes, and we've gotten so much screen time with side characters. And there's so little screen time. So, give me more of the Emmons Field 5, please.
Yes. But great follow-up to episode 1. I still feel like I'm sinking into a cozy book and it's Wheel of Time, but new and...
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, confidence. So much confidence. I got to this episode and I'm like, all right, 2 points make a line. I am feeling good officially about season 2.
Uh-huh. I also, by the way, saw Logain. I was like, I know he's going to go for him for, like, skills, but all Logain is going to tell him is you can't control it. Like, I wasn't sure if there were going to be any, like, lessons or if it was just like, no, you're going to channel whether you want to or not. Because Rand went to him for how do I stop channeling lessons, not how do I channel lessons. And I would have really liked Rand to go to him for, okay, I've accepted that I can't stop channeling. Now what?
Right, because I feel like the show canon, the show lore has established that this is not a choice already. So I feel like Rand is being slow on the uptake. Like, we know that you can't choose otherwise. Like, you should be moving on to how do I live with it? How do I manage it? And yeah, also at this point, we didn't know the lore changes around what a stilled person can see. Right? Like, we didn't know at this point that he could describe that. So I was extra confused. Like, Rand, why are you going to him? Like, all he's going to tell you is that he can't see or detect anything and that you can't control anything. Turns out I was wrong about half of that. But the other half I'm still right about. And it's kind of Elias and Perrin, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. We're getting maybe the two of them are having that parallel experience of the power they don't want is coming on. But yeah, at this point,
sure,
it's very like, what do you think you're gonna get from this man? What do you actually think he can get you, Rand?
But yeah, that's it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We got more development on Lan and Moraine having a shit plot.
What was left out is a good question, I think. What didn't we get in that episode that you would have liked to have seen?
That's a good question.
White Cloaks. I feel like the White Cloaks are something that was left out of the season till the very end. It would have been interesting to get a little more build up with Bornhald. Maybe a little more, like, what is Sue and Sanche doing right now? We've established her as a main character. I would have liked to have seen some of her. But yeah, I guess we got a pretty good overshot of, like, all the characters. Egwene, Nynaeve, Matt, Rand, and Perrin, right? The Emmons Field 5 all got moments in this episode that felt significant to me.
And we got a really good introduction to Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
And we fleshed out Leandrin.
No, this was one of the better balanced episodes, I feel like. They really did touch on everybody, gave everybody moments. There was an A plot, there was a B plot, there was a C plot. Like, there was really a lot of good book quotes, like, really solid episode. And it one decent battle. I will say it was light on the battle.
Yeah, I would say that although there are a lot of things I think are lacking from this season, I don't think there was anything missing from this episode. I feel like, aside from just sheer screen time to let everything breathe more, this was really well balanced. It hit all the things I needed. Nice hook for the next episode, introducing the Shan-Chan reminding us of how they introduced themselves at the end of the last season. This is our first time seeing them again, right? Like, just as impactful as their first thing.
Right. This is after the cold. Yeah, other than the 1 second opening we get where they show up on screen with the wave, right, and drown a little girl for no reason. Bastards.
Which is at the end of last season, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah, I kind of think that this is more or less a perfect episode. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, me too. And on that note, I think just once again want to say thank you to everyone who supports us.
Yeah, thank everyone for listening to us. Please remember to like and follow us on social media, support us on Instagram, engage with us on Discord, and keep all the victims of colonial genocide in your thoughts.
Definitely. All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?